A big welcome and thank you for joining us today to Jasco's Hybrid Workforce virtual event. In light of everything going on in Melbourne today, which is where Jasco is located, this could not have come at a better time. So especially for organisations who still don't have a really great platform in place. So today would be really, really insightful for you guys. On the agenda for today, we have got 3 different presenters. So we're starting off with Leon Wright from Microsoft, who'll be introducing the hybrid work paradox. Following on, we've got Gavin McClintock from Jasco Consulting. He'll be discussing the Teams platform as well as a little bit on security there as well. And then we are having Eric Coffman, who will be discussing the best devices that will facilitate hybrid work. And at the end, we will have a Q&A session, but please feel free to message through your questions as we are going, just in case you forget later, and then we can answer them all at the end of the session. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Leon, who will now present. Thank you.
Yeah, super. Thank you so much, Helen. Really great to be here today. And once again, just the hearts go out to everyone in Melbourne. I think we're all hurt when something like this happens. So, yeah, we've just got a lot of colleagues in India that are going through a lot. So yeah, it just hearts go out to everybody. I'm Leon Wright. I look after advanced workloads inside of the Microsoft Business Group. In essence, I look after the products and then have a wonderful team that help us take this to market. We've seen a tremendous amount of change in terms of how people are working hybrid. In essence, the vaccines are rolling out across the globe and the world is opening up. There's a lot of business leaders out there that are thinking, how do they navigate this transition? Some people are working remotely, some are in the office, and more it's becoming a combination of both. It's not a temporary state. We've studied the data closely, and what we are seeing is this is a durable trend that's going to last into the future. And as we move forward, it's going to need a new operating model. And, the days of thinking about an 8-hour day or a 9 to 5 are absolutely gone. This is going to be a hybrid workplace that's going to break all the norms, and we're going to see a transition to essentially a new way of working. It's got to be flexible. And, people, and this is the hybrid work paradox, is people are looking for the flexibility and they want to work anywhere, but they also want that in-person engagement that was lost through COVID. People buy from people, and I think we're all missing people. So, we want the flexibility, we want to get back together. Now, that's difficult, but what makes it even more challenging is that you've got geographical and cultural changes. And regions that have got specific nuances. And as an example, when we look at China, 81% of the employees in China are back at work 3 days a week. If we now pivot to Australia and we have a look at what our work styles are, we're sitting at 19%. So, between pre-pandemic and now, we're sitting at 19% back at the office. So, I think we as Aussies have voted with our feet. We really love the flexibility and we want to retain that flexibility, and we'll see that happen. It's been a year of acceleration, but the one thing that we're really seeing is it hasn't slowed down. COVID didn't happen. We did the migration and now we're slowing down into the new normal. That's most certainly not the case. And if anything, we're accelerating now. If we saw if we thought that the transition from pre-COVID to COVID and the shift we went through was quick and was traumatic, the move to hybrid is going to change the way we work in the future. So that's going to be the big transition we're going to see. We see it in the data. We did a lot of work in terms of our surveys that we conducted with the work trend index. And if you haven't seen that, go have a look at it. It's a really good read that'll give you a lot of insights to how people want to work. But 80% of managers are saying that their company is considering redesigning the office space for hybrid work. That's huge. That means companies globally have acknowledged this is not a trend. This is the way we're going to work into the future. And they're actually transforming their office spaces. Most organizations in Australia, if the employees had to stand up tomorrow and saying, we're going to work, couldn't do it, okay, because they've reconfigured themselves to cater for this new way of working. And that's a good thing. once again, employees looking for that flexibility, and in person, just critical. As Aussies, this is in our DNA. We want to stand around a barbecue. We want to work with people. We want to shake people's hands. It's personal. It creates social capital. And that's one of the things we've lost through COVID. We've lost social capital and we've lost culture. It's really hard to create and drive a culture in an organization when you can never get the organization together to drive and lead that culture when you're doing it at arm's length. So that's that's a major change. But the constant is flexibility. We're going to live through extreme flexibility. And it's something we're going to have to ride out together, and every region is going to find their groove and what works for them. But to empower our people in the new world of work, we got to embrace this, in terms of when, where, and how people work. When we talk to customers, they will want to empower people for a world that's dynamic, fluid, cloud-powered. They want to find ways for their people to work not just from anywhere at any time, but with solutions that allow both synchronous and asynchronous communication. That's another major change. We need to work with both synchronous and asynchronous communications to truly land the objectives and drive productivity. It's going to require a new operating model. It's going to transform the existing one, and it's going to have three core pillars. We're going to have people, places, and process. So if we dive and we go look at people quickly and what the impact of people is going to be is, to help people thrive in a flexible workplace, we're going to need to rethink that employee experience, from creating culture to attracting and retaining talent, and building listening systems is going to be key. That's an important one to call out there is two. Firstly, retaining talent, because as we go into the future, that's going to become a major challenge for us because we've essentially democratized the workforce. Anyone can work from anywhere. So, for organizations, the ability to attract talent from different geographies or cultures is great, but you're going to battle to hang on to your talent. And if you're not transforming fast enough, it's going to be very difficult to do. What we've done at Microsoft is we've got 50% of your time you can work away from the work. I'll take myself, it's significantly higher than that. But I've just, I've had an agreement with my manager, and I've got my work hours that I retain, and that's the important part, is giving managers that capability and that flexibility to really own that. When we look on the social capital side, every business has got to be world class. Once again, the synchronous with asynchronous communications to sustain the culture in the organization. In Microsoft, one of the main drivers and the main, I suppose, the things that people are expecting is meeting recordings have become the fastest growing content type. It's just expected. If I missed a meeting, I can go back and I can watch it and I can record it. It's expected. It's not anymore. It's not a differentiator. It's just got to be available, and it's got to be on demand, and it's got to be at a time when I want to watch it. It's about inclusion. The second dimension is of learning. You would have seen us launch Viva, and Viva is squarely to drive and create and foster that learning inside of organizations, and to help organizations transition. How do you acquire knowledge? How do you diffuse the knowledge through organizations? And then how do you drive and allow employees to learn from each other? How do you identify the expertise in an organization and then displace those people into the organization for maximum effect? The next consideration is one of human capital and wellness. What we're doing at Microsoft is we're taking a very data-driven approach. While simplistic, very data-driven. And what we're doing is we've identified back-to-back meetings as a challenge for our well-being, and short breaks is the remedy. And you've seen us, really communicate around that. But we've applied these learnings and we've added settings to the product. In Outlook, we've got those breaks. You're able to do that, and we're encouraging our teams to turn these settings on. That's really important, because what we're seeing is a lot of burnout from people. So when they're not leveraging these capabilities, you're really seeing burnout. So managers really leaning into their employees and making sure they understand in terms of what their workloads are and that they're not burning out is critical as we move into the future. The next one is, when we look at places, our approach is being turned on its head. It hinges on bridging the gap between the physical, digital, and then involving these employee needs. We have to put our employees first, and specifically their safety. What we're doing is simple power apps to allow people to check in on their wellness before they come into the office, to book resources in the office, and really just give them that flexibility in that hybrid workforce to choose where they want to work. When it comes to meeting spaces specifically, we've turned that on its head, and we're looking at pre-pandemic design philosophy, and we're saying that doesn't work. That used to look at people in the room. We are now designing technologies and rooms and infrastructure for people that are not in the room, because that by far is the bigger group of people that we need to drive and get inclusive inside of a room. So that's becoming increasingly important, and you'll see us land that in our vision. What I'm going to do is just quickly show you a vision of what that looks like and how we're landing that. Yeah, so if I think if there's one thing that lands through that, it's we're democratizing the workplace. It's truly designing for total inclusion. When we look at process, the shift to hybrid work gives business leaders a rare opportunity to transform key business process. Now, this is really important, because if you're thinking over the next few months that it's simply a return to the office and it's a organic change, you're missing a major opportunity. But more importantly, you're going to get disintermediated. The people who manage successfully through this transition for hybrid work are going to be those companies that have that competitive advantage, that come out of COVID a hell of a lot stronger and able to transform. So really lean in and make use of this opportunity. It's complex. The hybrid workplace doesn't make it easier. We have to design for a zero trust network. That means connect from anywhere on the internet, and we assume you're not a safe endpoint, and we manage for that. But what it does is creates that flexibility. It's not only the employee expectations. The other thing that's landed is the expectations of customers have fundamentally changed. If we get really simplistic, things like curbside pickup that seemed pretty novel, and now this is pretty cool. That's now an expectation. It's built into the mainstream business process, and that's only going to accelerate. We're looking forward to working through the hybrid work transition with you. We're actively leaning in. We're building the tools like what we're on now, Teams meetings. Viva will look after your people through this transition. Don't forget to be awesome through that hybrid workday. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Leon. Nice. Okay. All right, so I'm Gavin McClintock. I'm the UC team lead at Jasco. What I will talk about now in my section is how we can enable some of those hybrid working scenarios with Microsoft Teams, specifically around Teams and all the different components that we have around the Teams component. So basically what, building on what Leon's already mentioned, flexible work is here in some form. It's here to stay. As Leon mentioned, it's an expectation that I will be able to do that. And if you don't allow that flexibility in some form with employees, the workforce will go elsewhere to organisations that provide that level of flexibility to them. Like we're really lucky at the moment that we're doing this seminar, and no one is in the Jasco office at this point in time, because we've made a decision at the moment to all work from home until things settle down with what's happening in Victoria at the moment. But where we're at in the sort of the whole COVID world is one of the surprising things that a lot of people have sort of said or thought, that this working remote scenario or situation that we're in, that they thought the flexibility or productivity will drop. But it's actually been the reverse cases, that we've maintained, or may have even increased productivity for organisations. But one of the things that's masking, I think, is an exhausted workforce, where we're getting to the point where everyone's sort of at the end of, not their tethers, but they are exhausted. People may not have taken appropriate leave over the last 12 months. So that's one thing that is happening in business as well. Some of our leadership who used to be able to just have corridor conversations with the people are not seeing that anymore. They don't have the ability to do that. Our workplace teams have become more siloed, because they tend to only communicate with themselves. They don't reach out outside of their little silo to engage with people. And I know from our perspective, before this week, we've had a situation where we've had people coming back into the office 3 days a week. And the amount of, if you like, that water cooler conversation has greatly increased by having everyone back into the office. But it's also a good thing for mentoring as well. And Leon mentioned this, talent is everywhere. We no longer need to be located in the office, in the state, in the same location of where our business address is. There was a thing recently, the Jeep, I think it was, were running a competition to set you up as a week in a remote Tasmanian wilderness somewhere with really good internet, so that you could work from there for the week while enjoying the beautiful surrounds of Tasmania. So our challenges as a business and an IT is, in a COVID normal world where we're still managing this, what are our challenges? We need to provide that same level of features and connectivity and engagement, whether we're working from the office or remotely. We need to provide them access into the company resources. So we don't want to have cumbersome VPNs and processes to get remote access to our environments. We need to maintain our productivity, and from an IT perspective, we need to ensure that security is maintained. That's a key part of all of this, in that, and I've got some slides a little bit later that talk about security specifically. So how does Microsoft Teams help us with this hybrid work scenario? So it provides really key foundation communication and collaboration experiences. The modern meeting experience, which I'll talk about, and also Eric will talk about, in providing remote participants and internal participants who may happen to be in the office the same level of functionality within that meeting. It provides a productivity suite so that we can collaborate across different teams and across documents and stuff. And it also provides built-in security using the Office 365 stack. So all of the standard security components that are a part of Microsoft 365 can be leveraged within Teams to provide a secure environment for it. Right, so when we're communicating or collaboration, we've got our standard chat. If I was in a room when we did this a month ago when we had an in-person event, I would be sort of raise the hand if you're currently using Teams at some form, and maybe if you want to use the actual reactions, you can raise your hand and say yes, or not so much raise your hand because that's going to leave you flagged in here, but you could use the clap symbol if you wanted to indicate that you're actually using Teams in some form at the moment. There we go. They said, well, thank you very much. At least we've got some interaction between the group. It's very hard doing this when you can't see everyone, and it's good to get some interaction there. But within Teams, we can have a persistent threaded conversation. It's not like the old MSN chat where you have a bit of to and fro, and then all of a sudden it drops off. You close the client down, it disappears. Depending on your retention policies, that information is there forever. And I regularly search back through conversations that I've had with people. Thanks to you, everyone who's turning their video on. It's fantastic. I regularly go through searching old conversations to see to find information that I know someone's put in the chat. We've got our private chats for one-for-one or group conversations. We chat within our channels, within our Teams channels. We can also do that. And we can humanize things by doing the things that I just sort of encourage you to do, was provide reactions, put GIFs and emojis and stickers into our conversations to engage people and have a little bit of fun in the process. It's not all about just sitting back and doing work. We need to have some fun in the workplace to actually survive. So how we also communicate is we can also do that through calling, and Teams is a great platform to do that. I'll just go to the next slide there. This is the current view of what it looks like when we're doing calling in Teams. And it provides that access into sort of a single pane access into all the different components. Now, the way that looks at the moment is currently due for a refresh, and it's popping out, I think, in the next quarter or so. I did see some information, so that layout will change. But you've got the ability to look at your Outlook contacts, and they automatically flow through into Teams. We can manage our call forward settings from our settings via our Office 365 object in that top right-hand corner there. It shows you what your number is, how many times the people actually see. Sorry, someone making a funny in the chat, are they? I can see Eric cracking up there. Go ahead, make the call. Okay. Thanks, Leon. We've got the ability to see what our number is. It's sitting there for us, so we don't have to remember it. If someone rings, asks you what your telephone number at work is, you can see that there directly. We have the traditional dial pad, but we can actually cut and paste numbers from different locations into that field and make our telephone calls from there. And if the website that we've got is like formatted with a tel URI, it'll click on that, open up in Teams, and it'll automatically make the call for us. So that's sort of what it looks like as Teams as your phone, as your PSTN replacement. So you may be using Teams at the moment just for internal calling or peer-to-peer calling or internal conferencing, but this is taking that to the next level where you're actually adding PSTN functionality into Teams as well. So how do we add PSTN into Teams? So there's Sky for Business is in that diagram. It's still alive. Sky for Business is online. I think it's got another two months to go before it's officially retired and migrated through to Teams. But there's two ways in which we can do it. One is through native calling plan options for Office or Microsoft 365. And how that's done in Australia is through Telstra calling for Office 365. The alternative to that is to use direct routing for Teams. So that's using an existing or a new SBC and your existing telco trunk services to plumb that into Office 365 to provide the PSTN access. The PBX component is the phone system, which is the Microsoft Office 365 phone system. It comes along in the different licenses, which I'll show you in a few slides. So what this provides, or what integrating your PSTN calling into Teams provide, is a really simplified experience for your staff. They can make and receive their phone calls from any location using various devices, whether that be a business laptop, a tablet, a mobile. They can do that from anywhere. And that's really provides some key advantages to them. I actually did a migration on, I can't remember what day it was, Tuesday night, it would have been last Thursday, sorry, for a customer in their Melbourne office. We migrated about 200 users across to Teams Voice from a legacy Alcatel PABX. And the feedback that we got from some of the executives were, this is so much easier than using my mobile to do PSTN calling. So it was really, really good feedback from them on how simple it was for them. So in terms of how just a licensing construct, to give you some information from there, if we're using Telstra calling for Office 365, you need to have a Telstra calling plan, and that's the same internationally as what Microsoft call a calling plan. There are 3 options, an $8, a $14, and an $18 option. The $8 option just gives you the carriage, so you get charged all usage on top of that. The $14 option gives you the carriage plus all national calls, and obviously service calls as well. And the $18 plan gives you national and mobile with an acceptable usage plan as a all-you-can-eat option. So you will then pay on top of that for international calls. Your E5 license comes with the phone system SKU that you require, and it also comes with the audio conferencing option as well. If you currently are using an E3 license, you need to add phone system license or the phone system SKU as an additional add-on license for that. Or you can also add an E1 with phone system, and with each one of those, if you want to include the audio conferencing option, you can add that in as well. Now, the audio conferencing option provides your users the ability to create a Teams meeting that has PSTN dial-in numbers included in that option. So that then gives remote participants the ability to dial into those meetings via the legacy PSTN if they need to, if they can't do that from a computer or a tablet. Excuse me one second. Okay. How direct routing works is we have an existing telecommunications service, whether that be SIP, or if you're still on ISDN at the moment, you'll need to migrate to some sort of SIP-based service before NBN cuts it off in the next ISDN succession, I think, is sometime in 2021-22. So everyone's going to need to get off of legacy ISDN services or ISDN services, whether they be primary rate or basic rate. You have a session border controller that is certified by Microsoft for use with Teams. And basically what we do there is we create a SIP trunk between the session border control and the Office 365 phone system for Teams. And that is done over the internet, fully encrypted using TLS, to be able to then pass the calls from the telco through the SBC into Office 365. So this allows your users to be able to access the telephony services from wherever they are. They can be inside your corporate network, or they could be remote in a cafe, working from home, wherever the case may be. The session border controllers also give you the most flexibility in terms of integrating legacy components. Say if you've got, for a migration scenario, you've got a legacy PBX that you're migrating from, so that your session border controller can be connected to the legacy PBX, and that might be through ISDN primary rate services, or it might be through a SIP service. And the SBC, being the man in the middle there, or the person in the middle there, allows you to actually do the routing between all the different environments. So it's really good for a coexistence migration scenario to have that SBC communicating through into your legacy PBX and also to the users that have already been migrated to Teams. And it also allows analog devices. So analog devices don't go away. Whoever declared that the fax was dead, whenever they declared that, has lied, because businesses still use fax. It is very prevalent out there in industry. Every customer that we do a migration for, there is some faxing component there, or some analog component that we need to worry about. So fax is not dead. We need to deal with it. But there might be other analog services such as security or Lyft or whatever the case may be that we need to integrate with as well. Fax is immortal, I agree, Leon, but sometimes we want to kill it. Okay, so for how we license direct routing in an Office 365 scenario is we pay for our existing PSTN method. However, that's actually being worked with, whether that be under contract with your telco provider, you pay for that. If you've got an E5 with phone system, you don't need any further licenses. If you've got an E3, you just need to add the phone system add-on. There's no need to include a calling plan, because you're paying for that with your telco. And you've also got, with an E1, you need to add the phone system there as well. And of course, we can do the add-ons for audio conferencing as well. All right, so which one is right for you? And in some instances, it might be a situation that it's both of them. Might be that these options are not mutually exclusive. They can coexist together. And it really comes down to your organisational needs. This is something that in our pre-sales process that we do with customers, is we discover what is the best options for them. But it really comes down, when we're talking to people, is what are your telephony requirements? Do you need to interrupt with legacy PBXs and call center applications? Which is and how that's going to work. What you want your migration process to look like. These are things that come into play. Cost is an option, because in a TCO model, every user has to have that calling plan license. And in the Telstra model, every user has to have the same calling plan license. You can't mix and match the calling plan licenses. You've got one choice. So whatever you choose is across all your organisation. So you might have to pay, if you've got 1,000 users and you pick the $8 plan, you've got to license 1,000 times $8 for every month for that particular license. Whereas if you've got a direct routing scenario, you may not need to have that many concurrent calls. You may be able to get away with 100 concurrent calls on your SBC, and it's a shared pool that you can use. Excuse me. One of the other things to consider is DR. Now, at some stage, all cloud services will have some form of outage. We hope that they don't, but they will. In a TCO or a calling plan option, you have no control over those numbers in a DR event. You need to wait for the cloud provider to bring that service back up. With a direct routing option, those calls are still hitting your SBC first before they're going to the Microsoft cloud. So you have the ability to implement redirections on your SBCs in the event of an outage to say a third-party message center, so that those calls are not dropped and your customers don't lose that communication with you. You could have separate DR options that suit your business's needs based on those scenarios. Okay, so it's really something that we need to peel back the layers of the onion to understand which is the best option for you, and what your DR requirements are and how we can move forward with that. Eric's going to talk about this in more detail in his section, but one of the things that I will, and I've got a little video to show you in a second, is the absolute need and focus as part of any deployment that you're doing in this, whether it's just pure Teams without PSDN or PSDN with Teams, is the use of certified devices. They make an extreme difference to the quality of the communication that people have, and their experience in those meetings. And one of the key ones is most of the time where people are using maybe old Apple earbuds or the laptop and speaker out of their, the speaker and microphone out of their laptop, their experience might be pretty good, but everyone else in the conference will hear every bit of background noise that that is occurring around them. And the certification process is there not just to force you to go and buy these particular devices from the vendors that have been certified. It's really about the quality of experience for everyone in these meetings. And if I just go through the next slide, I've got a little bit of this. Gives you the difference in a home environment with a vacuum cleaner running. And I promise you, in the second part of it, the lady is actually using the vacuum cleaner, and it's not just she's pushing it around without actually using it. The difference between the two earbuds and actually using a certified device from Poly. So here we go, just a 1 minute video here. Okay, hopefully that worked for everyone. Yes, fantastic. So it gives you the difference there of why we encourage people to use these certified headsets. It was actually quite amusing to me. The customer that I cut across last Thursday. I asked them whether there were any issues. I heard nothing from them on Friday about the users that were migrated, and they're normally hearing nothing is a good thing. We've got good engagement, and we've done our pre-training and involvement in that has been successful. They came back to me and said that the thing that I was asked the most is where I can get my headset from. So up until that point in time, they hadn't been using a proper headset, or they'd just been using the microphone and speaker out of their laptop for the last 12 months while they've been doing Teams meetings internally. It wasn't until they got to the point of using PSDN that they've asked for the headset. So it's really something to drive engagement within your user base to use those devices. One of the things that we suggest, and if you're able to afford this, is to provide your users with multiple devices, because it provides so that they can have one at home and one in the office, so they don't need to transport and remember to bring the device back and forth every time. I'm in a unique situation where I've got a device, the speakerphone device at home, and it's the most appropriate device for me at home because I don't have any noise anyone else here during the day. And if I had kids running around, I'd probably have a headset on because having a speakerphone is probably not the most appropriate device at that point. But I also have another device that I can use in the office. So, okay. So just a reminder, and I mentioned this just before, NBN and Telstra have announced the cessation of all copper and ISDN services by the end of 2022. That may be extended due to the pandemic, but if you haven't already started planning your migration of your copper or ISDN-based services, start planning your migration now. It's a critical thing to start doing because you don't want to get that 30-day notice from NBN saying your system's going to be disconnected and you haven't done anything to resolve that by then. So if you need any assistance with that, the sales team at Jasco can definitely help out. So this is, I've just got a few slides about some of the calling innovations that have come into Teams in recent times. This is one that's been out for about the last month and 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, giving you the ability to link a call queue, which is sort of like a hunt group in your traditional PABX, to bring that into an actual channel within Teams. So it gives you stateful information about all the previous calls that have come through for that call queue, and it allows your, in this situation, it might be a support team, to add specific notes and have chat history there, have your agents listed there on the bottom right-hand corner and allow them to sign in and out directly from that queue. So that really gives you an added sort of, it's almost like it's a mini contact center type feature to bring into your teams, to provide to your teams, which is a really great option. And the next one, this is following on from Leon's video earlier. This was a video that I think, an image that was released recently of the future of what the meeting room looks like. So that's sort of exactly the type of larger meeting room that was shown in the video that Leon had earlier before. But it just sort of shows you where Microsoft are really pushing this technology to provide that same experience for you, whether you're in the room or remote from the room, to provide that hybrid working experience. So from the meeting perspective, in terms of how Teams can assist, one of the key things about meetings is not to just consider the meeting the be-all and end-all, the actual time that's the booking as part of that process. You need to think of it in the before, during, and after stages of how we can improve the processes and our workflows for meetings. So from a before perspective, we want to be able to share documents and allow our users to see those and read those and review those before we actually get in there. Provide a meeting agenda, and we can allow people to review that meeting history. And one of the things that Leon mentioned earlier was there is that expectation now where meetings are recorded, so that if I'm unable to attend, then I can go back and look at that information at a later date. So when we're during the meeting, being able to co-author the documents in real time is such a great productivity tool for everyone involved. For folks that are hard of hearing, or we have the ability to have live captions of our meetings so that we can see the closed captions for the meetings to bring those across. And as we've been doing today, we can provide interaction by allowing live reactions to our meetings as well. In the aftermath, we want to be able to follow up with notes and track assigned follow-ups. Again, accessing the recordings and transcripts, which are produced automatically when you do the save. And then we can continue to collaborate based on the documents and whiteboards and stuff that we've been able to share during that meeting as well. So Across all the different workspaces, we've got devices that allow us to provide that unified experience for our users, for our staff, whether it be the personal devices with the audio and video peripherals, our Teams displays, which are, if you haven't seen those, there are several different vendors that have got a small Teams display, very useful for breakout rooms or quiet rooms where people can go in and have a conversation and video call directly from those devices. The IP phones, so these are all the individual or small workplace spaces options. But for our groups workspaces, we've got our Teams rooms, whether they be Android-based Teams rooms or Windows-based Teams rooms, because there's two flavors, or the Surface Hub devices as well. Great for the huddle spaces, the communal areas, and the small, medium, and large meeting rooms as well. One of the really great things about Teams is that constant experiences from wherever you are. If you tried to join a meeting back in the Sky for Business day from the Sky for Business client, you'd be in a world of pain. But being able to have the same experience that you've got on a mobile device, whether that for a Teams meeting versus being in a meeting rooms or actually joining from a PC, they're absolutely fantastic in terms of the consistency across all the different devices. Being able to join from Chrome or Edge browsers, and I think I read something recently, Leon, you can probably confirm this to me, but Safari now has the ability to do video, which it hadn't had in the past. So if you're joining from an Apple device from a browser, from the Safari browser, you now have the ability to include your video as part of that experience as well. The scale that Microsoft allowed us to do for our meetings, our Teams meetings like this can now go up to 1,000 users, and I think it's 10,000. I think it's 20,000 temporarily increased for live events. So it's really Microsoft identifying what's happening in the pandemic and increasing the scale of all of those things. And also just that one-touch join from the Microsoft Teams rooms, include the device in the room and giving the user the ability to just walk in there and click the one button to join. It minimises the amount of time it takes them to actually engage directly into the meeting as well. This slide, I'll keep on going this slide. I've probably talked about everything on that one from the previous slide. So we've got our earlier slide where we had the personal devices. Now we've got our collaboration space devices and small and large meeting rooms, whether that be conference room phones, the Teams meeting room systems, or the Surface Hub 2S. And I think the 84-inch Hub 2S has been released this year from Microsoft, and it's one nice looking piece of kit. You'll need to sell both kidneys to afford to get it, but it is a beautiful device for that signature piece in meeting rooms as well. So some of the recent improvements that Microsoft have made into meeting rooms, and dynamic view is a really good one. And I'll come back to our recent in-person meeting, and this is one of the statements that I made that made Eric laugh, was at the start of the pandemic, I bought myself an ultra-wide screen at my Samsung panel, curved jobby, and it's the duck's guts. I think it's a great piece of kit. But up until recently, Teams was very rigid in the way that it allowed you to use all the space in your screen. If I maximise my screen, I tend to find that the middle part of my screen would be where the most content is in Teams. But dynamic view, which is recently, I'm not sure if it's GA yet, but it's definitely available in the developer preview of Teams, will, using AI, adjust the way that it lays out the screen, particularly the video components, and also the PowerPoint option that we're using in this screen. So for those who aren't aware, we're using PowerPoint Live to share a deck, and our presenters will then basically take control. I took control from Leon, and Eric will do the same. so that we don't have that situation where next slide, please. We can actually control that ourselves. So that's really, I think, is a great feature that we've now got within Teams to provide the presenters with the improved performance experience, but it also all the attendees an improved experience as well. Some of the other ones I've already mentioned: the one-person interactive meeting and the 20,000 person view only. For those NBA fans out there, I always bring this one up. So when the NBA were in their bubble last season in Orlando, the meeting experience, or the fan experience that they had, was actually partnered with Microsoft, and it was gallery view within Teams. So those panels in the back there, it's all these folks, the fans are actually joining the experience via Teams, and that was a really good use of the technology there. For those who like to keep abreast of what's going on, encourage you to look at the Microsoft 365 roadmap. I'll give you an example. There's been a lot of talk around recently whether the Android-based meeting room devices will support direct join for WebEx and what's the other one? Zoom. The Windows-based meeting room devices do. There's been a lot of sort of rumours about whether it was going to be supported on the Android devices. Recently, I found a post that linked to the roadmap where it showed that was actually now on the roadmap. So once it's on the roadmap, it's something that Microsoft's committed to doing. The timeframe may stretch, but it's also just a good thing to see and match progress of features that are coming along. So I encourage you to jump in there and have a look at some point. One of the things to drive productivity within Teams is to really use Power BI and the apps that are available in the store, the free ones that come from Microsoft, to streamline workflows within your business. We at Jasco partner with a company called Vasilia, who are Power Platform specialists. So if you need to do anything in terms of being able to integrate or design Power BI applications to improve workflows across your business, it's a really great tool within. It's probably the most underutilized component of Teams at the moment to bring productivity into your business. So if you would like some more help or direction with that, please contact us and we can get you in touch with Vasilia to be able to provide that as well. And this is another productivity one, is really for frontline workers. Microsoft have done a lot of work in empowering frontline workers within Teams and providing things like shifts and other tools within Teams, but also some of the device manufacturers have been providing the devices that we've got here from RealWare that allow engagement from frontline workers to back office people. So an example might be you might have someone in the power industry who's out reviewing or inspecting a substation or whatever and needs some assistance from someone back in the office or a technical specialist. They're able to use these devices with Teams, and there's integrated cameras and microphones in there to be able to stream a call back to the technical specialist to be able to get real world feedback or direct feedback on what options you might want to be looking for there. So that's an example of how, whether that be in the power industry or in the manufacturing industry or whatever, there's definite use cases for this technology to streamline productivity within your business as well. Okay, now I'll just touch on a little bit around security. And when pre-pandemic, we were all nicely, we had this big brick wall in front of us, which was our corporate firewall, and everyone sat behind it, and all the baddies were on the other side. Now, we can be connecting from anywhere. The challenges for IT in this post-COVID workplace really comes down to the employees. They want to collaborate, they want easy access, and they want to work from everywhere. IT, they want to protect the data, they want to manage access, and they want to stay innovative. And if they, sorry, I'll get to the next page. Oh, go back one, sorry. I just lost my way there. One of the things, if IT puts too many restrictions in play, shadow IT is going to kick in and employees are going to find a way around it. So there's a real challenge in balancing the two perspectives. So the way that Microsoft approached this is through a zero trust model. Assume everyone, or what's the best way to describe this? The principles of it, everything needs to be verified. Any connection request needs to be verified before we allow it to go through. We provide least privileged access, so we don't want to give people more access than what they require. And we assume that there's a breach, so assume that breaches can occur. The components of that from a zero trust model is identity is the key. Identity devices, by using the zero trust model and identity devices, we can control access to our corporate infrastructure and allowing that to happen in a way in which users, whether they're within the corporate network or whether they're remotely, to give them the most efficient way of accessing that data. Identity is the key component of that, because we no longer have a security boundary. There's no corporate firewall. We could be anywhere in the world. The first line of defense in this new world is the cloud. So we need to look at every sign-in application and data transaction. We'll define our privilege for that. Multi-factor authentication is one of the key components of this. If you're not using MFA, please look at doing it as soon as possible. The stats from Microsoft are that 99.9% of secured accounts with MFA is less likely to be compromised than any other type of account. Conditional access is a real key here. And the best way to describe conditional access is being able to define rule sets that force different levels of authentication based on where the user is located. And a prime example of that is the way that we use conditional access. If I'm connecting to Office 365 and I'm located within the Jasco corporate office, I am not required to use MFA. But if I'm doing that connection from outside the Jasco office, I'm forced to use MFA every time. If I'm connecting using an administrative level account, I'm forced to use MFA regardless of where I am. So it's being able to have rule sets that provide an appropriate level of access control based on where the users are located. Okay. I won't dig too deeply on that now, but if you've got any questions on that later, we can definitely help out with that. To round this out, from a compliance and security perspective, Teams leverages all of the standard security and compliance features that are already available in use across different applications within the Microsoft 365 cloud. Retention policies, legal hold, Teams supports information barriers, so that if you've got parts of the business that are not allowed to communicate with each other, we can implement information barriers between those groups. Teams uses the built-in e-discovery tools that are across the Microsoft 365 stack. So about my time is just up here. So thank you very much for your patience in listening to me ramble for the last 45 minutes. Hopefully it's been of some use to you, and I'm going to hand over now to Eric, who will take you through some device stories for the hybrid workplace.
Thanks a lot, Gavin. I appreciate it. And hello, everyone. It's nice to have all of you here today. As the guys have said, my name's Eric Coffman. I'm the Alliance Manager for ANZ for Poly, managing the Microsoft Alliance. And we're really glad here to be here with you today to talk a little bit now about the devices from the inside and out, and looking at how those apply and how we're working to design those for the hybrid workforce. So let's get through some of this. So I'm going to start with a good little video here to start the conversation. So hopefully this will play through for us, and then I'll come back to you here in just a sec. All right. That's a really great video that we've got there to talk through a lot of themes that you've already heard both Gavin and Leon talk about today, in the sense of having quality, ease of use appliances and certified appliances to actually interact and have the most optimized experience. And I even commented on that in the chat, that if you don't have a certified native device, you're not going to have an equal and optimized experience, which we'll talk about today throughout my presentation. So hybrid working, definitely, much like the guys already, it is the new way of working. We see it being something that's not going away. And in fact, some of the research that we're seeing is showing that 30% of all workers globally will be remote at some at least part of the time, which is somewhere around 600 million of the workforce around globally will be doing that, and 30% will actually, of that volume of people, probably will end up back remote, because again, that flexibility and the ability to have a different balance of work and life is here to stay, which I guess is something we can thank the pandemic for all the bad things that have happened and continue to happen as a result of it. It's also driven some really great transformation and change in how we all work and collaborate today. In fact, I'm sitting in our city office today, but I do work a couple of days from home as well. So there's flexibility for me to do that easily because of the devices that we provide. Plus, when you combine that with the Teams platform, it's a no-brainer for me to be able to flex and move around as I need to. Now, as far as the end-to-end solutions that we provide, we look at those from a work style standpoint, and really design and continue to design and build the appliances that we have to really cater for every work style, whether that be an individual contributor, organization, group, people that work across groups, people that are at the executive level in the business. We're designing things that fit around that ecosystem, and Microsoft is doing the same thing in the sense of how they're designing and evolving Teams. And so then from that, then we take and come down and look at the devices and look at everything from audio all the way through to the video appliances that people are using, and really design those to make sure that they're fitting those work styles, both whether they're setting the work style and the person may be setting at their home office, maybe moving in between their home office and an actual office, or actually now that we're be able to get back out on the road and that sort of thing, they're actually physically traveling again and or moving around between customer locations and need to have that flexibility and have that consistent and seamless experience across that. And all that's underpinned by Poly's pedigree in the sense of we've just celebrated our 60-year anniversary of design and development across great technology for the audio all the way up to the video, and also underpinned by all of our global services and support across all of our products that we develop today. From the standpoint of the optimized and equal experiences, again, really, really important to us at that foundational layer, which is the audio layer, that what we're designing and building, especially now with the acoustic fence and noise block AI technologies that we have, are really enabling us to give an amazing sound experience. One of our partners from Jasco also mentioned today and posted up the link to my colleague Michael Ellerman doing a demonstration here of our new Voyager Focus UC2. Now I'm on the Voyager Focus UC1 today, which is brilliant. I've loved it ever since I started using it. It truly, and I've even done a demo with another colleague of ours not too long ago, showing how much it does block out. I was in a noisy cafe, completely took out that noise and distraction, both for me locally in the sense of damping it around me, but also for James on the remote end. Well, you would think that there's no way we could take and do anything different with that technology because of how good it was. Well, we did. And so the Voyager Focus UC2 is just next level on audio, both for the individual that's utilizing it, but also then for that remote end. So Michael's done a great little demo on LinkedIn for it, but also there's some other great things that you can see as far as the launch of it on our website and stuff. So please check that out. But so that's that audio foundational level when I talk about this. But the next level then, of course, is that visual element. So as we've gone remote and we've gone into this hybrid working world, Leon and Gavin both talked about this. We still, though, want to see people as much as possible. We want to still have that ability to physically see someone, even if it's on camera, to gauge their nonverbal cues, to be at least connected to them as much as possible without physically being together. And so when you take that noise block AI technology, combine it with the acoustic fence technology, and apply it into our video appliances with great camera tracking, great speaker tracking, great field of view and vision, great just cameras in general across the board from desktop all the way up through to room systems, you got something that is just absolutely amazing. And it's going to give an optimized and equal experience. And what that means is that we don't want people to feel like, okay, well, I had this experience today when I was at home, but I'm going to go into the office and get a better experience. They shouldn't feel that way. We want them to feel like they're getting a great experience, whatever device they're touching and whatever whatever way they're coming into a meeting on a device from Poly. From the standpoint of end-to-end solutions, we really now, of course, are looking at the home environment and the enterprise environments, so the office environment and home. And we're going to highlight today quite a bit about the personal series, which is more for that home office or small office space that we've developed and launched now here recently. But we now also see that whole concept of having a great experience at home transitioning back into the office, and also that the office space, of course, is changing because of COVID and just because of the way people are working now. We're seeing a lot more need for less of the typical boardroom, less of the larger conference rooms, and more still needing those for those applications, but now needing more collaboration space, huddle spaces, spaces that allow people to stay socially distanced but still have a good experience. And those places are often open office, like I'm sitting in today, where you also need to be able to not have noise distraction and things happening in the background around somebody while they're actually in a session. So all of that we're doing is looking to drive that end-to-end solution and equitable experience across those two things. So I want to talk a little bit now, though, about the enterprise-grade devices for individuals that we've launched. So again, this is called our personal device series. Certainly, some of these things that you see on this first slide have been products that have been in the market for quite some time in the sense of the headsets, and also our CCX range of Microsoft Teams certified phones. But you'll also see on the far left of the slide the actual first view of that you're seeing today, if you haven't seen one yet, of the Sync family speakerphones. We're going to talk about those more in detail as we go along today. But first, I'll hop back though to the headsets real quick. The Savvy 7300 Office Series is our newest DECT system that we've launched, and it has better battery life than ever, better density across how it operates and works inside a facility, and it really gives a customer the ability in those larger, maybe manufacturing facilities, larger retail spaces, potentially even healthcare spaces, to have people on these devices, keeping them very mobile, but still building in all the great acoustic fence and noise block AI technology, and then allowing them also to conference together as they need to, as they move around a dynamic workforce and workspace. So some really great capability inside this series of DECT headphones and headsets, and something that I think customers are going to really enjoy. Now I'll go back to the Sync. So the Sync is an awesome group of speakerphones that we've just launched. This one being the Sync 20, which is designed for an individual user and for them to use both at their home office or on the road. See some people giving some heart signs to it. I absolutely love the one I'm using right now. I do use it for music, quite honestly, and we wanted people to do that. We designed it to be utilized not only for meetings, but also to, while you're working, to kick back a little bit and have something that helps you relax in the sense of listening to your favorite tunes or a podcast, whatever it may be. But it's also then a great device for you to have your conference calls and meetings and cut down on that meeting fatigue that we all can sometimes have from wearing a headset a lot. It gives you an alternative to hop between the two. It then, when you're utilizing it too, it takes advantage of the noise block technology inside Microsoft Teams. So you can actually still benefit and not have to worry about outside noise distraction coming through the speakerphone while you're utilizing it. You can even charge your phone through the device if you're running it low on battery on your phone, and it's Bluetooth enabled and very flexible. So it's a great device. And it also has a Teams version where you can actually use a Teams button on the phone to invoke the Teams application and shortcut right into it whenever you need to. So some really great features with it. In addition to that, there's a couple other models of it, which we'll see in this slide. So the Sync 40 and the Sync 60. Now these are actually designed as well for the conference room. So they're great to work with our MTR and Windows video collaboration bars to extend the microphone and speaker capability inside larger rooms. And they're, again, Bluetooth enabled from a daisy chain standpoint, with one of them being wired enabled as far as the main base. So some great solutions here. These are all now launched in the market. So definitely, if you haven't checked one out, either come see a Poly demo showcase or go see Jasco, and I'm sure they'll be able to share some of those with you as well. So, or Microsoft for that matter. The next device to highlight here is our Polystudio P5, which I'm also using today. The Polystudio P5 is an awesome webcam, and it's more than just a webcam. It's actually got a great field of vision, great optics, great ability to just to flexibly use it. It's got a great little mount on it that helps it mount on top of a monitor or your laptop, or really a lot of different things. The camera will actually magnetically detach from that mount. It's very easily, so that you can move it around, use it to maybe show something that you want to show someone in the sense of focusing on a specific product, or a scene or something that you want to show someone, picture, that sort of thing. And then also you could actually mount it even on a tripod if you wanted to at that point. So it's also got a Bluetooth port in the back, a USB port in the back, so that you can put your Bluetooth dongles in there for comparing to your headsets to cut down on the amount of ports that you're maybe utilizing on your laptops and your PCs. And it's just a great USB plug and play device, very simple to use. It has a privacy shutter as well for when you don't want anyone to be able to see that you're on camera. So great device there. We've also now we will be pairing this in Studio P5 kits. So we'll be pairing it up with a couple of Blackwire headsets, our Voyager Focus UC headset that I'm utilizing today, as well as the Sync 20. And these will be great for you enabling your remote workers and people in that hybrid environment, either new starters or existing employees. Gives them a quick, cool little box of great kit and great technology to implement, plug and play, and off they're running. And it can also even be managed remotely, which I'll talk about in a moment. The next level in that P series of video appliances is our Polystudio P15. So much like the MTR rooms on Android systems that we've done, the video collaboration bars, we've now taken that kind of approach towards a personal device. So the Studio P15 is really, really awesome. It's definitely designed for people that are utilizing video a lot. They're probably more that mid-level contributor in an organization and above. And it built everything in, the camera, the speakers, the microphone, and everything all into that USB-enabled video bar. And it's very portable as well, so you can utilize it at home, but you could also even take it into an office if you needed to, or it could be used potentially in very small huddle rooms as well. It's great optics, great ability to help out with light, low light situations. And it's just an awesome appliance. So, and then finally, what's coming now is also our Polystudio P21. Now, this is really designed for somebody who needs to look their best and likes to look their best. So probably more your executive level, mid-level management to executive level management. But it's an all-in-one actual video monitor for Teams. And it actually allows you to have your Teams meetings up on a dedicated monitor for you. It's got the built-in camera inside the monitor, built-in speakers, built-in indications of lights and stuff that tell you when you're in a call, when you're free, that sort of thing, when you're muted. It also has integrated lighting along the sides to help give you the best lighting possible around you from a vanity lighting standpoint. And it even has a charger, wireless charging base inside the base itself, so that you can charge your phone if you need to, and any other, potentially other wireless charging devices. But the monitor itself then can be utilized as just a monitor as well, whenever you're not utilizing it for Teams meetings. So it's got dual purpose, but a really great device here as well at the top of the range in the P series. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about the rooms and the workspaces and the room-based systems that we have. Those are divided out now, which, as you've heard me referencing a bit today, between Microsoft Teams rooms on Android and then Microsoft Teams rooms on Windows. The Android devices are really designed for quick installation in that medium to small room spaces, and to have an all-in-one video collaboration bar without a lot of complexity in the room. Very, very straightforward installations. Comes with a TC8 controller with the Windows MTR Windows-based control loaded into it, and for you to access. And it has very much a native Teams feel to it now because of that new control system inside the Android capability. So, and then it's all your cameras, your speakers, and your microphones and everything are all included in either the X30 or the X50 bar. So really getting a lot of great feedback on these bars, and really awesome and slimline and easy to use. The Microsoft Teams rooms, though, on Windows systems are some of our flagship products for some time now, but really, really great capabilities. They come with the Windows-based compute that sits either behind a bracket on the wall or potentially mounted behind your displays, or potentially if you wanted to in a credenza, if there is one in the office space. But they're great for more your medium to larger rooms, and have the ability for more customization and more audiovisual integration. The G85T, though, in particular, has one of our best cameras that we've ever developed, which is the Eagle Eye Director 2, which allows for, as you saw in the video that I showed earlier, allows for you to capture both the active speaker and the room for context, for example, and allows you to do speaker tracking within it. The G40T, though, which is the step below that, is for that medium-sized room, and that also has the studio USB camera bar with speakers and everything inside of it, which is also great for speaker tracking, and technology inside that is pretty stellar. So, and then of course the G10T that you see there listed on the slide is actually for you to put into the room and then add your own peripherals and create your own room. So for example, a training room, something like that. So some great solutions there, both on the Android and the Windows side for rooms. And then another slide is talking about the 3 levels of the Microsoft for Windows rooms. So I'll skip through that one. And then certainly last but not least here is the Polystudio C60. Now this is our newest Microsoft Teams certified speakerphone. You probably will notice its design is not unlike other speakerphones that Poly has done down in the past, but this particular one is now set to actually be certainly just an audio device for a room that doesn't have necessarily video capabilities, but it can also be a control device for the Microsoft Teams room on Windows systems, for example, the G85T if you wanted to, or even the G40T and the G10T. So it's and it can actually, you can use a couple of those inside of a conference room if you need to for audio and output and input, so into those systems. Now, something that I wanted to talk about today too is what we've done for the P series in particular, in the sense of Poly Plus. So when we designed these products, we didn't want to just design, personal series products that didn't have any support or management capabilities. So Poly Plus was launched for the personal conferencing devices to support them end-to-end like we would any enterprise level device, basically. So giving you the ability to have advanced parts replacement, and that sort of thing for devices that are having issues, if there were any. Also for you to have the ability to manage them and to interface with them and see how much they're being utilized, and actually have that control over those devices. So it's pretty good that we've done that for even down to that webcam, for example. As we're getting towards the end here, I wanted to highlight some industry recognition that I'm really proud of that we highlighted during our sales kickoff in the last week, which was really, really cool. So we've had several awards come out for some of our devices. So to start off with, the Polystudio P series, the Poly Lens, which is the web app to look into that and manage it, and then also our Sync family speakerphones were given an actual award for and certainly something. All of these were given different types of awards. So the Red Dot Award for product design went to for technical capability went out to on the stylish P15 and the Sync family, which is really, really cool, recognizing their design and their technical capabilities as far as how that is delivered to our customers. The Studio 15 then also went on to P15, also went on to win the IF Design Award for its beautiful design and actual innovation. So that's an international award as well, which is great and really exciting to get. And if that wasn't enough, then the Studio P series and Poly Lens took the top honors in our B2B workplace software innovation categories for the Compass Intelligence Awards. So really great recognition for those platforms and products. So and then on top of that, we actually also these notes here on this one. We also had a unified award as well for the Poly P series and Poly Rove devices as well. So some great recognition of the development and the work that we've done on these products, and just look forward to the future as we continue developing more and more devices for the Teams ecosystem and for collaboration as a whole. So from a next step standpoint, we just wanted to let you know too that there are some great programs available from Poly and from Jasco that customers can take advantage of to make that transition. As we highlighted today, Skype for Business Online will be end of life here before long. So it's a great opportunity to start looking at how you might transition and how you might transition to using Microsoft Teams rooms as well. So we've got a couple of different programs between Poly and Microsoft to highlight specific opportunities and help us architect deals that will help you guys out. We've had try and buy programs, which will have different versions of those types of things going on. Also trading, so not so much trading privileges, but just incentives to help you move from legacy Poly gear, if you do have that, into Windows and Android systems. Technology upgrade for CCX from any VVX, for example, or other phones that you might have. And then also a C60 refresh program to move you from any legacy Trio 80, like 8500, 8800 devices into the C60. So lots of great things that we can help you out with. So please reach out and let us know if there's any more that we can do for you to help you with the migration.